such trainings, and we have one-on-one mentorship, career clinic, and coaching. A lot of times you've had people on board to have seminars with us, webinars with us, or workshop on how we can, make our careers better and things like that. We also have community-based team bonding, both physical and online. And we have a job opportunity on our platform. If you check the channel 5, that's for our job placement, and a lot of people have gotten jobs through that means. If you don't know, there was a job opportunity that was posted today, an internship opportunity for anybody that is willing to. Probably you are just starting afresh and they just need an internet. You see things that will drop on our network. And if you have not joined the Tesla Spotter community and you're here, or you have somebody that could be of that can benefit from Tesla Spotter, this is an opportunity for you to send them a link so that they can be a part of our community. From the type of trainings we have, you will notice that it is being divided into different levels. We have beginners friendly, we have intermediate, and also managerial level kind of trainings. Like today's zone is like a beginner friendly training. And so you understand that if anybody like comes into on board, even if you are a beginner, you are aspiring, definitely you will get something good out of it. And we also have testing merchandise, where we call community members sometimes to test on application, and they are paid. So today we are hosting Okoyemi Ogeroju. Thank you, Okoyemi, for joining the call. But shortly we are going to be starting. I just want to ensure that we have more people on the call before we start. So just in about 2 minutes, we're going to be starting this webinar so that everybody can, have their time to rest. Thank you, everybody, for joining once again. If you're happy to be here, kindly drop your favorite emoji once again. Thank you, everybody. Drop your favorite emoji. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Temitope, Imo, Jumai, Kenneth. I see you. Esther, I see you. Abalari, where is Esther now? Where is it? Okay. They're here. I see you. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I'll be right back. Thank you. Hi, there. I see you. Thank you very much, everybody, for staying tuned. My name is Faith Victoria, and I am your host for today. So just right about now, we are going to be going into our webinar for today. And you already know that we are learning on test case generation and using automated tools. And we have Okoyemi right here on the call. I'll be doing a short introduction of Okoyemi, so kindly indulge me. Okoyemi has over 4 years of experience in software testing She's an ISC QP certified QA engineer. She's dedicated to ensuring software quality at the highest standards. Currently working at Felinsoft, Okoyemi specializes in manual testing, defect management, and delivering seamless software solution. She is passionate about functional testing and thrives in collaborative environment, working closely with developers and stakeholders to build high quality products. With experience in both manual and automation testing, Okoyemi enjoys exploring CRM dynamics testing, API testing with Swagger, and mobile and web testing in agile environments. Always eager to refine skills and contribute to better software delivery. She believes that breaking things strategically is the key to creating flawless user experience. Everybody join me as I welcome Opeyemi Ogereju as she takes us on this subject, structure and clarity of test cases using automated tools. Opeyemi, welcome. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Faith. I really don't know how I was looking
Cannot
at this
hear
and
you.
like,
Are you muted?
I am not. Confirm you can hear me right now. Can you hear me?
Please confirm that you can hear Opeyemi.
Looks like people can hear me, but just you.
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you very
Can you hear
much.
me
I can hear you.
now? Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so like I said, I was looking at what she was reading and I was like, okay, well, I really can't dive too much into that, but thank you very much, Faith, and thank you once again, Testa Scotters, for having me. And once again, thanks for everyone for joining to listen to me speak today. And I'm going to make this as interactive as I can and try to make it interesting, not to bore you so much about my talk about testing. Today's topic is going to be on structural clarity. I'm going to share my screen now to make it better. Please confirm when you can see my screen. Cool. So today's topic is basically on structural clarity and best practices for test cases using automated tools. I really don't know if anyone has ever tried writing test cases severally, like manual writing. You continuously write test cases, and at the end of the day, you realize that there are inconsistencies or there are redundancies after a while, and you're like, I wrote this thing, I strategically looked at everything I needed to write, and you realize that you've made some errors, you've made some mistakes. I don't know if anyone has experienced such. Please, I just need you to give your emojis to confirm. Yeah, thank you very much, Jimai. So, I haven't experienced that myself. I think that this is a topic I can really vibe to. And for that, I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is more of the outline. Sorry, there is a bug here, which is the first thing I'm saying now, outline. And for this evening, we're just going to talk about test cases. Like she said, it's a beginner session, sort of. The importance and challenges of writing test cases, the structure of a well-detailed test case, writing clear and maintainable test cases. I know a lot of people write clear test cases, so just enjoy today's session. Behavior-driven development, BDD, best practices for writing test cases, automated tools for writing test cases in a situation where we don't want to continually write manually, best practices when using automated test case writing tool. Why should we automate our test? Why exactly do you think I need to stop manually testing my software? Why should I jump into automation? Best practices for automation testing using test case automated tools, basically. So first, what exactly do we understand by a test case? Is a documented set of conditions or steps created to determine what needs to be done based on what you have been given. I'm going to use a lot of scenarios here, and that's because most of my dealings deal with scenarios. In a situation where I come to meet you and I tell you, oh, I want you to build me a software, I need that software to have ABC. What exactly do you do to confirm that ABC have been met? All you need to do is you think about the criteria, you think about requirements, you think about everything that needs to be done. And at the end of the day, you compare it to do ABC. For you to confirm that you have not missed B while trying to clarify that C is there, you need to outline it, you need to write it down. And this is where our test cases come into place. You need to think about your input, you need to think about the actions, what exactly needs to be done. And at the end of the day, do I make my customers happy? Do I meet this client? Are they happy about the result? Have I given them the ABC? Your test case actually gives you more confidence to be able to say, I have been able to satisfy my client. I've been able to tell them what they wanted to hear. So it outlines the inputs, the action, expected outcomes for a particular test scenario, ensuring the software performs correctly under different conditions. Regardless of the condition, based on whatever your client must have given you, you need to ensure that your test case like fits into it and it meets that scenario. So why exactly do we think this topic is essential? Why exactly we testers quarter say, okay, let Okpeyemi speak about this topic. So testing is becoming a necessity in software development because I know a lot of us would not want our customers to experience bugs. It is not, even if you're going to have bugs in the application or in your software, you should be the one to experience it, not your clients or not your customers. But ineffective test cases lead to unreliable results and wasted resources. You get a lot of, oh, has this been tested? And in your mind, you're like, you did a thorough test on it, you even wrote test cases, but then you probably missed a few things, or you probably like didn't check some things properly, is why they're asking you that kind of a question. Automated tools significantly reduce time required for test case documentation while improving accuracy. You really don't have to like spend hours or days trying to like write test case for a particular software when you have automated tools. This is not to rule out the fact that you still need manual writing sometimes because you need to like clarify some of the things that automated tools must have written for you. So the next question is going to be, when can you commence your test cases? Another scenario now. I am a client and I come to meet you at Testers Quarters. Oh, I need to develop this particular software. This is what I want. I want my pen to be able to automatically write for me. The only thing that comes to your mind is, how do we do this? Who are the people that are going to do this? When do you want to do this? This is the cost. That is the only thing I want to hear, the cost. But for you, you come with the, oh, who's going to do this? That's when you start thinking about different things. And at that point is where you start meeting your resources. Like, this is what needs to be done. Your developers start thinking of how to bring up this thing, your UI designer, then your tester as well. It is not until everything is completely done before your tester starts working. So at the point where you have your requirements, you can commence your test cases. You know what you need to do. You know what exactly is expected of you. Once you have your requirements, you can commence your test cases. And sometimes, as soon as new features or functionalities are given to you. So in a situation where you work in an agile environment, for example, after one cycle, you go to the next cycle, and sometimes you really do not have so much time, to be honest, because it is not every agile that is actually like agile. So you don't have so much time. It is until you get new functionalities that you understand what exactly needs to be done. But that's not like it is a proper way. But in that situation, you know that you've seen the scenarios, you've seen what needs to be done. You also need to start writing your test cases. At the same time, when planning for automated testing framework for selected tools, you already know you want to automate this thing. You need to like write down steps, actions that you need to like do for you to be able to like comment your test cases. So I'll move on to the next slide. And this is basically like a question. And I need people to like drop their input in the comment section. So look at this test case and you can probably tell me one thing you think is missing or one thing you think is perfect, or just tell me anything you can think about this particular test case. I'm going to give 1 minute for that. And please, I expect answers. I'm still waiting on for answers. Okay, input is missing. Preconditions. Okay, I'm going to do well with these two, except I get more in 30 seconds. Actual result is missing. Test data. Yeah, cool. This shows me that everybody understands what this is supposed to be about. So looking at this particular test case, you can tell that this is really vague, because I'm looking at this. Somebody who doesn't understand the software cannot tell what exactly needs to be done before one thing is implemented, or before I can say, oh, this is a success or not. So you need to confirm that you have your preconditions. So here I'm seeing the first test case and it says login. That's the feature, login. And the scenario is to test if login works. If login works, are you talking about the password? Are you talking about username? Are you talking about the login, like the button itself? Which exactly are you talking about? So you need to be certain that you're very like clear about what you're talking about. You can't impute like three different things into one scenario. You can't say you're talking about login when login has like a lot of components in it. So you have to be very certain. And what exactly are the preconditions before I can even test login? Am I seeing the application itself? What application am I testing? What software am I testing? I don't even know what software I'm testing. But if you're working in a company, for example, and it's a product company, you know that, okay, this is the only application I'm testing. But what exactly needs to be done before one other thing can be done? Fine, we have different ways of writing our test cases, but there are some things that need to be in that test case for you to affirm that you have written a test case. So we have the steps there. Fine, this one is being met because you have the steps for somebody who wants to replicate it. And one thing I need to mention is the fact that when you write test cases, like you're writing test cases for, or you're writing something for somebody who is not you. Because as a tester, I feel like when you write your test cases, somebody else who is a tester should be able to pick up that test case and work on it. Expected results is here, but it is not the full thing that we need to see. So moving on to the next slide. So what exactly are the importance of a well-detailed test case? So from what we could see in the previous slide, you can tell that some things are missing, which will actually like affect the end result. So the first thing is provide clear guidance for testing. When you have a detailed test case, you don't have to worry about like, okay, how am I going to test this again? You've done all those thinking. You've done the thinking, you've completed all of those thinking. The only thing you need to do is follow through every guideline that has been given to you. It ensures consistency in validation. If Okpeyemi is testing this particular test case and she's getting this result, so far that application or that software doesn't change, if Juma is also coming to test this thing, she should also get the same thing, not getting something else. Because if you are giving different if you are giving something that is not consistent, there is high possibility that we're going to get different results at the end of the day. Enables efficiency and accuracy during automation. Remember that one of the things you need when you want to write an automation test is your test case. So when you have everything detailed, you have your comments, you have everything in your test case, by the time you're automating it, it makes it like much easier for you and you can easily like comprehend with it. So when we, after speaking about the importance, what exactly are the challenges of manual test case writing? So one, it is time consuming. Like I said, sometimes you spend hours, you spend days trying to like complete a particular software test case, and at the end of the day, you still see some inconsistency and all of that. So it can be very time consuming. It is very prone to human error. I can make mistakes, just like the first one I showed you, which was outline. I actually like did look at it like severally, and I never saw the E missing. So things like that can definitely happen. Lack of consistency and traceability. So sometimes it is not consistent. Take for example, in this particular scenario, I'm putting my steps, my conditions, and I put login and all of those things. But in another one, I am missing the login part. So it happens like that sometimes when you're writing your manual test case. So moving on to the next one, what a detailed test case should look like. Like I said, we have different ways of writing test cases, but then there are some key things that need to be in your test case for you to know that, oh, you have tried or you have done enough in writing your test case. And the first one is your test case ID. You need to be able to identify it. You're working on login feature. You shouldn't have the login and have the say for example the dashboard having the same ID. They should be different. They are not the same thing. You should be able to identify them even without like going deep into it. You can say, oh, this is the dashboard test case, this is the login test case. So talking about your features too, sometimes some people do not have it, but I always prefer to have it. That way you don't have like confusions. People are not like, wait, login, because there are some applications or some softwares that have two different logins, and you can always like differentiate login for another one, probably login for students, login for lecturers, or login for teachers and all of that. So if you have a particular feature like that, always include it. Then the scenario, what exactly do you want to test? What exactly is that line talking about? You can't tell me that line is talking about the entire login in itself. That's like you merging several test case scenarios together. So you need to be able to identify what that line is talking about, what that scenario is speaking about, then the steps. So you talk about the steps, what exactly needs to be done before the next thing, So you outline the steps for you to have that. And at the same time, your test data. So like I said, if we have two people testing, say for example, Kayode is testing something and I also want to test that same thing. If we have the same test data and the software has not changed, I expect that the two of us should be able to like derive at the same conclusion, which is the actual result at the end of the day. Then your entry criteria, it is very important because I need to know what exactly should happen before I should be able to proceed to the login. What exactly do I need to see? Do I need to see the screen? Do I need to see the dashboard screen or something before I can proceed to the next stage? Then you have your exit criteria. This alone is kind of like different from the expected results, because your exit criteria will tell you that you have been able to satisfy that expected result. The expected result has happened, but your exit criteria, this is what you're now seeing. So when you log in, the expected result is I should be able to like successfully go into the application or something. But your exit criteria will tell you that now you are seeing the dashboard screen. Like you can confirm that you are seeing it. So you have your result as well. And when you have your results, sometimes it is not always like a success. So you can have pass or fail. Some people have success or failure. It depends on what you want to do. But at the same time, it is important that you have your actual results, which is your result. And most of the time, comments are also needed. When you are writing your test cases and when you are executing them, there are times that you really do not have like plenty of time, like I said, depending on the project you're working on. So you need to add comments. When you add comments to them, if there are bugs or something, without comments, you can always go back to your screen recording or your screenshot or something, and you can always tell what exactly is missing. Though I always advise that most of the time when you're executing your tests, if you can do them in parallel by raising your bugs and while testing, like it makes make sense that way. That way you don't miss anything else. But if you want to like complete one before you move on to the next one, which is like complete your execution before you move on to your bugs, you need to like add your comments. So that way, even when you can't remember, you will definitely need to remember. Not even when you can't remember, you will always see your comments there and you can tell. Another thing you need to add is your severity. So different people, like I said, different companies, different policies, but you need to add your severity to your test case as well. Sorry. Okay. You need to add your severity to your test case as well, because a severity 1 issue is different from a severity 4 issue. And some people use different levels for severities. Some will tell you that it is a major severity, it is a low severity. But the important thing is add your severity to that particular scenario. And you can have priorities. So in a company I have once worked with, we have a situation where we work with clients, and these clients will tell us, okay, we are going to have the priority because we've seen this issue, because there are some clients that want to see your test cases. We've seen this particular thing and we feel like if there is something wrong with it, it is of high priority for you to help us fix it. So they had their priorities, and when you raise box for them, they will add their priorities to it. And you had your severity. You feel like if this thing doesn't work, then it cannot pass. Like you feel like this test, this entire software does not fit going out there. So you had your severity as well. If you're more than one tester testing that particular software, I will always advise you had the testers, and sometimes add the date. That way you can always trace it back to when you added when you created that test case, and when you executed it, when you added the the tester that tested that particular scenario or whatever. So you should always have it there if you have more than one tester. So I've actually outlined like what each of these subheadings basically are, which is what I've just tried to explain now. So when it comes to writing clear and maintainable test cases, one thing you need to know is avoid ambiguous statements. There is nothing like I want to verify the system loads. How many minutes does it load for? How many seconds? You need to like be like explicit when it comes to writing your test cases. Don't be vague. Don't push huge words. Don't put too many big words into one particular sentence. Like, no, just be clear with whatever you are saying. Are you saying you want this thing to load in 3 seconds? Are you saying you want it to load in 2 seconds? What you actually mean by loading very fast might be different from what I mean by loading very fast. I might mean loading very fast to be 1 second, why you mean 3 seconds. So you need to be very explicit with it. Use simple and precise language. Take, for example, you are saying click on a rectangular shape. We can have several. Just click on the login button. The login button is most likely going to be one. And if it is not one, there are some particular UIs which I find very like buggy, because why you are putting two different functionalities in one screen, like login here, then login at the top as well. Like just make it one login. But if you are putting just if you are putting two logins there, make sure that it is click on the login button. Either of them is the login button. But if you want to clarify and be more precise again, click on the login button at the right hand side. Click on the login button at the left hand side. Use consistent terminologies throughout. So in a situation where you say submit button, don't come back in another scenario and say confirm button. If it is the same thing, use the same words so you don't mix it up, or you don't like misunderstand yourself when you're executing them. Keep each test case independent for reusability. Like I said, don't merge different scenarios together. One scenario should test one particular thing. You need one expected result or one just make sure it is just a single one. Don't merge things together. In a situation where you are writing automation, make sure you have comments there. You want to test login, you've written your test case there, but add it at the top that you want to test a positive scenario for login. Don't just say you want to test login, because you can have probably like 4 different scenarios for login, which so you have to like be very clear with what you are testing. Then keep tests more and focused, which is one thing I said. Your test scenario should verify one thing. You're speaking about one thing, you're verifying one particular thing. Yeah. So another thing to mention is this BDD. Aside that manual way, which almost everybody knows about when it comes to writing test cases, you can also write your test cases this way. And one of the benefits of writing your test cases this way is the fact that just anybody, even your clients, even your PMs, technical people, non-technical people, they can always understand this way. Everybody is clear. There's like nobody is missing. And most of the time, BAs or product owners, they are the ones who tell you what they want, because they're like, okay, I want this user authentication. This is what I want. If this thing doesn't happen, in a situation where this thing happens, this is what I expect. So that way everybody is clear. Nobody's saying, oh, I thought, I felt. No, you can see it that this is what they expect. When you do this, at the end of this is what you should get. So when it comes to this, one of the best practices that I have seen so far from why I've like had is the fact that they keep their words simple and like everybody can always understand it. I don't have to like go back to my BA like, what do you mean when you say this? Because it is clear, it is in plain English. Everybody understands it. And short tests are business focused. Like I said, anyone should be able to pick up this kind of scenario to understand. And when they are testing, because it is not only you that will end up testing that particular software. So anyone should be able to like pick up the scenarios and test it as well. Use proper naming convention, avoid ambiguous and complex step definitions, be clear with your steps. Don't give 200 steps to one particular functionality. Like, make it short, but that implies that you're testing one thing, because if you're giving 10 steps, that means you're doing more than verifying one particular thing, except the fact that you have probably like gone through those previous steps and they know that, okay, we've done this once. Follow the given, when, then format. Is like a standard format, sort of. Keep scenarios independent. Make sure one scenario is speaking about one thing. And one of the things I have seen about most of the best practices for these test cases is the fact that they always tell you, keep your scenarios like simple, make it very specific. You don't have to speak about so many things when you can just test a single thing. So when it comes to test cases in general, what are the best practices? I think some of them have been chipped into when I was speaking about the previous example, which is plan and organize your testing before you begin. Don't start your testing and saying, okay, you want to test logout first. There are things that you must have done before you go to logout. Because if you say you want to start with logout, what exactly do you know that needs to be done before you can go to logout? So calculate. I'll say calculate, because it requires you calculating your steps. Like, know the first thing you want to do. You won't run 10 miles before running 5 miles. You must have gone through 5 miles before you can get to 10 miles. So calculate your steps, know the ones you want to do first, look at what exactly needs to be done first, consider the priorities in requirements that you have been given, consider your severities, and plan out how you want to do it. In some situations, you create your test plan. Not every agile situation would require you to have a test plan anyways, but when you can do that, create your test plan. That way you can always chip in, okay, I want to do my login first, I want to do this next. So that way, by the time you start your test cases, you know the one you're picking first. Then the next one is keep design tests so that you can run them in parallel. If, for example, you're trying to like test an Android app, for example, and you want to test a web app, you can always like pick the login for the web app and pick the login for the Android app, or somebody else can help you pick that one if you have more than one tester. That way, the two of you can always like have conversations, because you've both gone through the login. You can easily tell, oh, what's like the expectation you're getting, or what's the actual result you're getting from this. That way you can easily collaborate as well. Treat test steps as if you're writing them for a machine, because it is not every time that you test it yourself. Don't always think that I understand what I'm writing, I know what I'm writing, I know the way I write. You're not the only one, because it is not just your own product. Anybody can pick it up. So it is not you writing because you feel like you understand your writing techniques or something. Write like you're writing to anybody, not even just a machine. Anybody can pick it up. Keep regression test cases small and specific. This is still iterating the same thing. Don't elaborate your test cases. Like, make it very short and simple. The important thing is make sure that everything that needs to be there is there. Also cover both positive and negative scenarios. Don't say because the scenario that you've been given are positive scenarios and that's all you're testing, or they've only told you that I want to be able to log in successfully and you're only testing positive scenarios. Consider the negative ones to think of edge cases, think of situations where they can't even think about. That's why you're being paid. So you have to like go out of the box, think outside the box for them sometimes. Like, consider the negative, the positive scenarios as well. Be specific with expected results. Don't say, like the example I gave earlier, don't say you want this thing to run very fast. You want it to run in 3 seconds. You want it to run in 2 seconds. Be very specific. Automate where possible, but keep manual tests where necessary. It is not every time. I'll keep saying, like, not every time. We still like need you to manually test your applications. You can't say you're starting a new software now and you want to jump into the automating parts. You need to like at least do the manual part first before you move on to the automation part. So automate where it is important, where you see that you've been doing this thing continuously and to keep coming up. It will get boring at some point. So you know that at that point there is a need for you to start considering automation. That's if the resources are available anyways. Then automated tools for writing test cases. I rarely use automated tools for writing my test cases sometimes, and that's because of the project or the client sometimes. But then I've been able to like make some research and do some findings on some, which I find quite interesting. And to be honest, I feel like I'm going to be jumping into most of them as soon as I can. There are some which are AI generated for you. Like all you just need to do is input or send your screenshots of whatever you want to test. It's going to like pop out scenarios for you and pop out um cases that you can test, different ones, but at the same time you still need some things to be done before that. So automated tools help streamline test case creation, reducing manual efforts. Like I said, it can be boring sometimes, like very tiring, especially if you are the only one testing that particular thing. So we have testing, we have functionize, we have apply tools. These are tools that you can always check out at your convenient time. There are videos on YouTube you can use, and there are lessons online. There are places where you can get your lessons to learn how to use most of these tools. Then we have test management tools, like TestRail, we have Qtest, we have different ones like that. They help you with your testing. I think I added some samples as well. Then NLP based tests, we have the Test AI, we have the low code ones as well. We have Catalan, we have Leapwork, we have different ones like that. So you can always like check out different ones that you think fit into what you need for, because most of these automated tools, to be honest, they have their advantages, they have their disadvantages. So you need to consider what you are testing. Are you testing a web app? Are you testing a mobile app? You have to consider all of these things. Then make your research. Which one do you think fits into the situation you are in? Which one fits into what you need it for? So you can consider any of them. So I did add samples of this, and looking at this sample and what we have been saying so far for even manually writing your test cases, I don't know if someone can tell me what they feel is like the same thing, kind of like unique, like everything like similar. I will give a minute for that as well in the comment section. I'm still waiting on to get one.
Sorry, I missed that question. What's the question again?
Okay, yeah, I'm saying that based on what we've been speaking about since and looking at this sample on your screen, what do you think are similar? Can you find similarities in them and all of that? If you can find, just tell me any similarity you think you've been able to see from what we've been saying and these automated tools that I have on your screen. Okay, without wasting so much of our time, I think one of the key things that you need to identify here is the fact that most of these tools, they've also added their preconditions, and you can also see their expected results, their actual results. What is this trying to tell us? This is trying to tell us that regardless of you manually testing or you using the automated tools or whatever you want to use, there are still some key things that are important in your test case. You need to still get your title. So you have a description, because all of these things are required for you to write a perfect test case. So even with the fact that we are using machines, we are using AI and all of that, they still required all of these things. So regardless, you should know that some things are key. If these things are missing, then forget it. You don't have a test case. So your test description, your expected results, your preconditions, exit criteria, your actual results. All of these things, they are key things for you to confirm that you're writing your test case. And like I said earlier, your priorities, depending on what you're working on, your priorities, your severities, they are key things that you need to add to your test case for you to have a perfect test case. So these are just samples of different tools that I have compiled together. I think I have Testim, I have TestRail here. So you can always check them out, and they're quite interesting to use. All you need to do is sometimes like record some of them are just for you to add screenshots, and you edit them, you do everything you need to do to them. So you can see this is a different format from this one, but at the same time, they are still giving you steps. They are still telling you the expected result. They are still showing you the actual results. And just the same thing as this one, even when they are different tools, which imply that they have one unique goal. So I'm just going to move on to the next one, which is best practices when using automated writing tools. Review all generated or AI generated test cases before execution. So having written test cases for you, all of these things, you need to still go through them, because it is AI, it is machine that is writing it. It doesn't imply that it is going to be perfect. So you still need to go through them, you still need to read them and ensure that all of these things like that you need to have, it is there. Customize templates for various testing needs. So you need to ensure that your test cases are like based on what you need them for. Are you testing for the APIs? What exactly do you need for you to have a perfect API test case? What do you need for you to have a perfect web test case and all of that? So you need to ensure that you have templates for every of the scenarios you want to test for. Ensure continuous updates with evolving system requirements. So as your system improves and they change their requirements and everything, you need to always make sure that you're updating it. Don't think that, okay, because it is a machine or because it is AI or because this is auto-generated, this should also like manually like get it for you. You need to always like go back to it and update it. Apply version control to test cases. I think one of the things I did learn early enough was the fact that when I'm writing my test cases, I should always version it. And that way, when I do one and take for example 2 weeks 3 weeks time I need to write another one, I'm like, which one did I test last? I can always see the versioning. I can see that, oh, I did 1.1 before I worked on 1.2 before working on 1.3. That way you can always go back to your test case and say, oh, this was the first one you wrote. You can easily compare them. You can check the actual results. Was it working at this point? Now is it working now? Something must have gone wrong in between the first and the third one. So that way you can always like go back and trace your steps. Edge cases should always be considered when writing test cases. Don't like, I feel like the only part they are paying us for, to be honest, is this edge cases, because they need us, like they feel like testers are people who think out of the box, and that is why we are being paid. So they need you to be able to think of scenarios that they cannot think about, like think for us, basically. That's what they're trying to say. Integrate with test management and platform for seamless collaboration. So there are different collaboration platforms that you can use if you're not the only tester. So that way different people, like other testers in your team, can always pick it up and test. You can use DevOps, you can use Jira, you can use DevOps, Jira as well. I think I've used those two before. And that way, when you write your test cases, somebody can go there, oh, let me help me review this thing. They can always help you edit it. They can always help you go through them. And you're not like alone. You can always collaborate with your team that way. Incorporate test data management strategies. When you're testing, take for example, you're automating a particular thing. You don't have to always say first name should be Opeyemi. Because if you say first name should be Opeyemi now, by the time you want to come back in 2 weeks' time and you're like, okay, you've used Opeyemi, if that particular field is unique, you have to start thinking of another name. So you can always like use test management strategies, like saying you want to do a random name, and for different languages that you want to use, you can always like code that one out. It doesn't have to be hard coded for you to write like your test data. Keep regression test cases precise and specific. I think even when you're manually like testing, your regression test cases should be very specific, because this is not like even in general any longer. This is specific to a particular feature of a particular functionality that used to work this certain way, and now it is not working the way it used to be before. So you have to be very specific with that one. Use automation to validate test cases. Most of the time when you're using automated tools, because once you do that, like you're manually like you're automatically running it again. So you use automation to validate the test cases you've done. Most of the time, if there are issues or if there are steps missing and all of that, it will always break if there are steps missing or if there are things that are missing. So why should we automate our tests? I'm not saying you should stop manual testing, but at the same time, why do you think you want to automate your test? For faster feedback. You're working on 5 different projects, for example, and you feel like you'll be able to manually do all of those 5 projects like perfectly. To be honest, I really don't know if you're machine, but I feel like a, an individual would not be able to like do all of those 5 efficiently in a specific time frame. So sometimes you just need something that will give you a faster result, and at the same time you can trust it. So at that point, you know that you should consider it. Then improved accuracy at the same time, executing the same steps like precisely every time can be boring and tiring. Like you can't be accurate every time. So for you to get most of those things, just write your test cases and give it to something to automate it for you. That way you get it. Then increase test coverage. When you manually test your application or manually test your softwares, there are some steps that you'll be like, okay, this one is working. I think I did. But with this, you can always like get your results. You get a larger like percentage of whatever you need to test, and you're not even bothered because it is not collecting water from you. It is just for you to like click basically. So you get an increased test coverage at that point. So far you've written out the scenarios and test cases that you want it to test. Then cost effectiveness. So if we have a very large system and we require 20 testers to be able to do that, we can actually hire 10 testers who are going to help us with the test cases and at the same time work on automating it. That way, fine. In a way, somebody can want to argue that, well, it is expensive hiring some 10 people that would automate rather than 20 people. But at the end of the day, you realize that it is still cost effective because you don't have to like keep doing the same thing every time. Because when it comes to cost effectiveness, it is not just the financial part, it is also resources too, because resources are also expensive. So you need to consider the fact that time is also cost, to be honest. Like, so you need to consider all of these things. Integration with CI/CD pipelines. Not every company, not every project actually work with this. So, but then it is always sweet or interesting because you know that before a particular feature can be deployed to production at the end of the day, then it must have gone through the continuous integration, like gone through it, you must have tested it, confirmed that it is working before it can be deployed out. So that way, you know that one thing goes through the process, and if it is confirmed and it is a success before it can be deployed for people to consume. Then continuous improvements, you can just always like pick it up, improve it, improve the test case, improve everything you need to do, and you keep running everything that needs to be run. You keep moving without any stress, basically. On to the next one. Sorry. Okay, cool. How am I moving? Okay, so best practices for automation testing itself, because I already mentioned the fact that you should consider automating most of your test cases. Ensure proper exception handling. So yeah, you've written your test cases, you feel like they are perfect to your own extent or to the standards, and you need to automate it. You need to ensure that you've written a proper exemption handling error. So there are some I think there are some tools that you can use that get screenshots and all of that for errors when you try to like run your application or run your software. They screenshot a particular thing where you're missing or whatever is left out of what you've written and what you've run. So at that point, you get that screenshot. You can always do with it what you think is best, because the only thing is that is best is you going back to it and checking what exactly the issue is. If it is from your end, fix it. If it is not, send it back to the developer. Regularly review and update test cases. Because you're automating doesn't mean you're done with it. You always you always update it. That's why when I hear some people say, oh, because we're now automating, we don't really need a lot of people on the team. People still need to update it. People still need to like review your test cases, because sometimes you need to improve your system. And when you improve your system, who goes back to write the automation? It is not the previous one that you're using that you still need to use. You need to update most of these things. Maintain proper test coverage. Cover the positive scenarios, cover the negative ones, include functionalities, where exactly you want to consider the regression, the performance part of it. You know the tools you want to consider when it comes to your performance testing. You know the tools you want to consider when it comes to your web, when it comes to your mobile testing as well. Use data-driven and key-driven testing. I think I did mention this earlier. So you use click, you use different action words or things that you can easily always like pick up as your keywords, and use your test data, your test driven data basically. And in that situations, you use things like I mentioned earlier, your random things like random number, random phone number, random name, depending on whatever you want to use and the best management one you consider best for what you are testing. Use assertions effectively. You need to confirm that, okay, this thing has been done, assert that this thing is there before you move on to the next one. If this thing is not there, don't move on. And or if this thing is not there, don't just break like that. Wait for it. Like, hold on, let me confirm that this thing is there before you can move on. I don't know if you get. So at that point, you need to always assert most of the things you want to confirm. Then follow a standardized test case structure, which is what we said earlier. Always make sure that you have your preconditions, things that needs to be done, and it's in your preconditions most of the time that you include your waitings. You want it to wait for a particular period. Your implicit explicitly wait for, okay, until this thing is probably like done. I don't want it to wait for like 30 seconds. I want it to wait until a particular thing is achieved before you move on. Then handle flaky test proactively. If you know of a particular feature that is always breaking, like it is not like anything is wrong with it, though, it is always breaking. And sometimes most of those things happen to signups. Most of the time that I have experienced, it is signups. So you know that this thing breaks. It is not like something is wrong. So you need to always put that into consideration and know the proper way that you want to handle it. So without so much more to say, I think I have come to the end of my speech basically, and I don't know if there are questions for me to handle, and I'll try my best to see what I can do about it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Okoyemi, for this very insightful session. I believe everybody was able to get a tip or the other from our session and a lot of takeaways. So it is time for us to ask questions. Yes, please kindly use the chat box if you have a question. And as well, please be aware that I'm going to be dropping a link. We are going to be taking the testimonials for this lesson that we just had. I'm going to be dropping it shortly after now. Please kindly engage that Google link and drop as much, testimonial about our dearest Okoyemi that just took us in the training. So please, we can go. Okoyemi, please go ahead. Yeah, we have some message questions in the chat box. Can you see them, or I should read them for you?
Yeah, I'm going through them. Okay, at what point do you say a test cycle is completed? It depends on the kind of environment you work in. So take, for example, in an agile environment, for example, you go through some specific things before you can say we are done like developing this particular feature, or we are done developing this thing. So one thing that needs to be done is ensure that you have your actual results being like confirmed. If your actual result is confirmed, you know that okay, you are done with that particular one. And if after getting your actual results and some are failing and all over, you raise your bugs. If your bugs are being raised, assign them to your developers pick them up, you retest them, which is when you start doing your regression and all over. So if everything eventually becomes a success and you've completed every of that, I don't think you have any other thing than to write your results basically. So you write your results, tell if you have a client, or if you have to report to your PM or to your BA or whoever you're reporting to, just write the reports of that particular testing cycle, and that's it for you. But if your bug has been fixed and they are sent back to you and you feel like, okay, this is still not satisfying it, you go back again, the cycle still continues. You have to like return, retest, and confirm. If it's still a no, until everything is like a success, then you write your report. But there are situations where you have a low severity bug, for example, and they tell you, oh, yeah, the one delaying us to go live and all of that, because you're saying your test cycle is not complete. You're not the one delaying. Your own is to get these problems for them. You have to get the bugs and all of that. So once you get them, put it on the table, let everybody see these are the issues on ground. If your PM is saying they want to go live with it, your own is to give the advice. You cannot like strongly say we are not going live. You have given the advice. You have told them the pros and the cons for going live with that particular bug. If they still want to insist, you're not the one like paying for that one. So if all of those other conditions are being met, then I feel like you're done with your testing. How do test automation tools enhance full test coverage? So most of the time when you're manually writing your test cases, you skip some things. It's not like you intentionally want to skip them, but you don't see them as scenarios. But when you use your test tools, most of these tools record your actions for you. So for every action, you always get that documented. And this is to bring me to one of the things that I did experience recently. And I was testing a particular feature. I saw that bug. You know, when you see a particular bug and you try severally replicating that bug, but I could not, like, not because of anything, but every step that I kept on doing was not working, because it was more of an exploratory test. So this was not me using a test case, but it did not work. Like, everything was not working until when someone else tried. Like, it's not even like I told the person like this was what I did. The other person like did try, and they got that same thing, and they were like, oh, Opeyemi, was this what you mentioned to this particular person that you were experiencing? And I'm like, yes. How did you do it? So it was through a recording thing, because they were like just recording their screen, not like they intentionally knew a bug was going to like pop up. So it was through that we're able to like trace it back. So most of these tools will record for you, and they will be able to like pick up things that you probably like did not see or you missed. How do you think new testers should approach their personal growth, and what should the testers roadmap look like in fast-paced industry? To be honest, I feel like testers quarters should be the ones to like help you with this, because one of the key things they do is the mentorship part. So I think I'll leave this to them to do. Explain more on boundary edge cases in testing. So when it comes to boundary edge cases in testing, you're testing for, let me use numbers. For example, I need to confirm that when I input three digits numbers into this field, I get this particular expectation. But when I input 4, I should get something like this. So in that situation, you need to be able to test out two digits, test out 3 digits, and test out 4 digits. That way you can confirm that boundary. And sometimes it can have to do with a wide range of numbers, say between 50 and 70, for example. You need to test out 71 or 60.9, 60.1, because 60.1 is even more than 60, which is like the boundary between what you're meant to test. So you need to be able to test the immediate thing after it and the one before it, while also your positive scenario is going to be the one which is what exactly is being covered. Can you please explain more about that version control for test cases? Do you use any tool? If yes, please share. I would probably help check if there are tools for versioning, but basically versioning is more of you versioning a particular thing, if that's the word. So I'm writing test case this week for this particular feature, and next week I want to write something else, or next week again we are doing like a general testing again. So I want to write the same thing, or I want to run the same testing. So I version the first one as version 1. I can put this week's testing as version 1.2 or 1.1 rather. Then next week's own can be 1.3. That way I know that this was the first one I did, this is the second one, and this is the third one. But I'm not so sure if there are tools. I can always help check that. Yeah. So I think there is a question I did leave out for tester squatters to for Richard Courage. Yeah. So if tester squatters want to answer that, how to help new testers with their personal growth and the testers roadmap.
All right, thank you, Okoyemi. Thank you very much. Everybody, please say thank you to Okoyemi in the chat session. Use the chat box to say thank you. Kindly type thank you to Okoyemi. Yeah, I see you. Thank you, everybody, for thanking Okoyemi. Can you use the chat box if you have a question? Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah, somebody asked about let me read it. It said, how do you think new testers should approach their personal growth? I believe one of the things as a new tester is you must be willing to learn and to collaborate with other people to like build connections with people that are already in the field. And that is one of the reasons we have Testers Quota. In this Testers Quota, we have aspiring engineers and people that are already like way above soft beginners in the field. They are right here on this channel, and they usually drop resources on some of our channels. You need to check those channels so that you can join. And like we have a resource channel, we have like ask me a question channel where you can ask your question, and you can even chat people privately if you feel that okay, this person, I've checked their profile and they could help me in this. And if you have not had like a standard training and you really want to know the nitty-gritty of software testing and you don't just want to have it on a face value, then you might need to consider an academy where they teach you properly how to become a software tester. And we have an academy, that's Testify Academy, and you can reach out to Adaobi Achinolu on Testers Quota. She's going to guide you through. We actually have like a beginner course that's like it will help you with real life scenarios, and yes, that's how over there, and like hands-on experience for 3 months, and the price is very okay. So thank you very much. I believe I've answered that question. If you have more question, you can actually send me a DM and I will answer you. My name on Slack is Faith Bitoye. So Okoyemi, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for joining us to have this session with us, and we're so grateful. Guys, I just dropped like a form, a Google form. We are going to be dropping our testimonials for Okoyemi. Kindly use it, okay? So, and I also I noticed that after the session, everybody is always so we just run away and go to bed. Please, let's make sure that after the session on our events page, kindly drop at least probably a line. You can just say thank you, Okoyemi. We appreciate the session. I mean, on Testers Quarter, yes, so that the people that are facilitating these things, they will be so excited that what we are doing in Testers Quarter is paying up and people are enjoying it, rather than just keeping quiet on everybody, right? Please kindly do that. Yeah, Okoyemi, we are so glad to have you, and we'd like to we'll be willing to let you go at this moment. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Um,
So, guys, you want to say something?
yeah, I don't know. I see someone
Okay,
keep
please.
question.
Okay,
There's
yes, please go
having
ahead.
a situation where product quality has met its exit criteria and then bugs were detected after deployment to production. How would your solution help that situation? Okay, so the first thing is if you feel like your exit criteria has been met and everything has been completed, and before deployment everything works perfectly, you have evidences. So one of the things I have learned newly is the fact that always keep records, like keep recordings, if possible, screenshots, if possible, of tests or scenarios that you have tested. That way, when things happen in production and you have screenshots or videos recordings to confirm the fact that before deployment this thing did work, so that way you know that okay, you're not to be questioned completely. To be honest, everybody is actually the quality assurance. And another thing to do is when you have deployment to production, always try to check as well. So when you check your production environments, like at randoms, even when you feel like okay, yeah, kind of like free at work, you can just go on to production and just like not like completely like start testing your features on production, but just try to like give yourself this user experience. Though there are sometimes when you work with certain clients or certain people, they'll tell you we don't want you to touch our production, but they will always give you a production kind of like, which is most times the UAT. Always confirm that all of these things are met in your UAT environment. If all of these things are met in your UAT environment and it is being covered in your test submission or your test closing results, like it is easier for you to have conversations with your PM to show them this was my result and I did share with you and all of that. So that way your name is kind of like cleared and they just need to fix the bug. You move on.
All right, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. So moving on, Okoyemi, thank you. We are do any other person have questions so that she can take it before she takes a leave? Yeah, in the absence of none, we are moving forward. Thank you, Okoyemi. We'll see
Yeah.
you again later. We really appreciate. God bless. So moving on, as you can see on my screen, we have some events coming up. Yes, and
Sorry, good evening.
please
Please.
kindly use the chat box.
Oh, okay, okay,
Benito.
okay. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank
I'll do that.
you. Yeah. So I'll read your whatever you message you have. God bless. So yes, we have an event. Our CBO, that's let me say CMD, Tester CMD. That's Ibiroke Yakini. She is going to be attending this event, and she's going to be handling one of the panel sessions with Lambda Test. So I'm going to be dropping the link. It's a free event, so you can join, like register for any of those events. As you keep attending these events, your knowledge on software testing and different, like you keep having more approach to more dynamic approach to a lot on software testing, and it is a very good one for you to attend. So that's on the 25th of February 2025. Is a virtual event, and you can just register to attend. And this is our paid master class. It's a collaboration between the Ibironke Yakini, that's our CMD, Olugbenga Rujaya and Abimbola Degite. These are seasoned software engineers, and they are going to be focusing on cybersecurity. You know that in this generation that we are, there's a lot of security concerns because people will take their time to build and test and everything, and after deployment, probably something just comes up and hijack what has just been deployed. So it is very important that we secure this product. So it is a very good one for us to have knowledge on security and for all our products. So this is with just 15,000 naira, you have access to this paid masterclass. All these people are experts in, I'm not sure, I don't know if most of us are aware. I was a CMD, she's also a security expert. Yes, and we also have this Oluwengato and Abimbola, and you can give it a short. I'll be dropping the link to that also in the chat box so that you can access it and pay for the course. Yes, there it is. So I will also be sharing the link to this recorded session mostly on Monday. I was supposed to share it now, but I experienced some technical issues with the recording on YouTube. So I'll be sharing this with you on Monday. Yes, thank you very much. Please do not forget to drop a testimonial for our facilitator, as that will encourage her to do more next time. These people are volunteers that just decide to give their time to give back to the community, and we should appreciate them for that. Thank you, everybody. So I think that will be all for tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We really appreciate you. Thank you, Esther. Esther Aziz, you finally joined the call. Somi Rufus is asking if we can get the slides. Yes, you can get the slide. I will confirm from the owner of the slide if you would want us to share it. But whether or not, I will still share the link to the webinar with you. So from there, I'll be able to get it. So thank you, everybody, and have a good night rest and have a lovely weekend. We really appreciate you. Please do not forget to drop what you learned on the event channel on Testers Coder community. And if you have not joined the community, I do not know how you got into this call. I did not know. That means you took the back door. So let me drop the link for our community for you so that next time you come through the front door.